Hello, sixth graders. Welcome to lesson 1 of your 2020-2021 school year. In this lesson, which is entitled I'm a Keith Haring, we are going to be learning about the pop art movement, who the artist Keith Haring was, and some of the imagery and characteristics and colors that are reflective of the pop art movement. You're also going to be learning about balance, composition, focal point, and complementary colors. So those are some of the key objectives of this project. You will find all of this information in the Google slide posted under Lesson 1 on Google Classroom. Today I'm going to be demonstrating the steps of this project. For this project, the materials that you're going to need are first just some scrap paper, because we want to do some practice drawing first. Or you could just use, if you purchased a sketchbook for art this year, you can just use one of the pieces of paper in your sketchbook book. That will work just fine. You'll also need a nice clean piece of white paper for the final project. Again, your sketchbook paper would be great. It needs to be approximately 8.5 by 11. You will also need an eraser and a pencil because we will be making corrections as we draw. Once we're happy with our final composition, we'll be outlining it with black Sharpie. So if you don't have black Sharpie, you can use black marker, but Sharpie is best. And then lastly, to add color, we'll be using colored markers. If you don't have markers at home, crayon and colored pencil is fine, but markers would be preferred. So those are the materials that you'll need for this project. If you have any questions as we move through this project, be sure to email me. But I look forward to seeing what you come up with for I'm a Keith Haring. You're going to be reflecting yourself as one of the Keith Haring characters that our artist Keith Haring is most famously known for. So, all right, follow along and enjoy. First, you are going to practice on a piece of scrap paper, just drawing Keith Haring figures. Though they are super simple figures with no details, they are actually trickier to draw than you might think. You're going to start by creating a circle for a head, but you're going to leave an opening where the neck is. And then you are not going to actually draw a neck. Straight from that opening, you're going to extend the arms. From the arms, then the body. From the body, the two legs. Continue to practice several times, filling your paper with varying Keith Haring figures. Start to consider what you want your Keith Haring figure to reflect, as it is to reflect you. So, is your Keith Haring you going to be running, holding a football, cheerleading? What are your hobbies? Is your Keith Haring going to be reading, playing video games? So start contemplating what you want your Keith Haring figure to do to reflect you and your personality, and then begin practicing drawing that figure doing that activity. If you're having trouble getting your Keith Haring figure to be in proportion, try practicing just drawing a regular stick figure. Remember to sketch lightly because you'll need to erase lines. Draw a regular stick figure during the activity that you want to reflect, and then you're just going to outline your stick figure, making it sort of like a bubble figure. And then you'll erase the interior lines, and then you'll have a Keith Haring figure. So again, continue just to practice until you've become really comfortable creating these really simple Keith Haring figures that in actuality aren't that simple. They are more tricky than you might think. So practice until you become comfortable, and then really start to figure out what you want your Keith Haring figure to reflect. Once you have your idea of how you want to reflect you as a Keith Haring figure, then you're going to take your final white, clean piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. Make sure your paper is going vertical. This is important to help fit your figure on. Remember, your figure, your Keith Haring U, is the focal point of this artwork. So make sure you are drawing your figure large, filling the space. We don't want a teeny tiny figure hanging out at the bottom and then we have all this empty dead space in our remaining artwork. So the focal point, which we've learned about in the Google slide, the focal point of this artwork is you. So you are front and center. You are large, filling the space. But you do need to remember to leave space at the top for your name. And you can choose if you want your name to be your first name or your last name, but it does have to be in block letters. The reason your name has to be in block letters is because you are going to outline it and color it in. When we are finished with this artwork, you should have no white space showing. So we don't want non-bubble letters. We want them to be block or bubble, and you can be creative with those letters, but they need to be block or bubble so that you can color them in. All right, as you are drawing your Keith Haring U, reflecting an activity that reflects your personality, remember to sketch. Sketch, sketch, sketch. Sketching is drawing super duper lightly so that you can easily erase and make corrections. You can see I've chosen to have my Keith Haring me reflect me holding a paint palette and paintbrush because I'm an art teacher. But I'm large, I'm filling the space of my paper, and yet I still have room at the top for my name. You can add additional details. So like I said, if you are playing football and you can put your jersey on you, you can have yourself wearing a helmet, or if you're a cheerleader, you can put your cheer uniform on and pom-poms. But we don't want to get too crazy busy with details. We want to keep it super simple so we continue to reflect the Keith Haring style. We are still not putting any facial features. So no facial features. If you want to add hair, or maybe if you want to add glasses, if you wear glasses, but we're keeping the details super simple. All right, so now I have completed my sketch of my Keith Haring me, and now I'm moving on to drawing my name. Again, I'm sketching it lightly. We want our name to be centered at the top, and that can be really tricky sometimes. So it might be helpful to first just write your letters non-block, just so you can get the spacing correct, the sizing, to make sure that it fills and goes across the top of your paper. You don't want your name to just stop in the middle and then you have a weird dead space at the end. So if it helps you, sketch your name non-block first, making sure you have the sizing correct, and then go back over and make them block or bubble. All right, once you have your Keith Haring U, your name, and don't forget your ground line. We don't want you floating in space. So make sure you draw that ground line at the bottom. I've had some students in the past, if you are playing football, they've drawn the football field. But again, keeping the background pretty simple. We don't want to draw all the fans and the scoreboard and all the things. We want to still keep it super simple. So your ground line, and then a really simple shape highlighting you, because again, you are the focal point of this art project. After you have your Keith Haring U, your ground line, your name in block letters, and your simple shape framing around you, then you're going to take a black Sharpie. If you don't have a black Sharpie, you can use black marker, but black Sharpie is best. And you are going to outline all of your pencil lines, all of them. Your name, your ground line, your shape around you. You are going to outline everything so you see no pencil lines at all. Okay, once you've outlined everything with black Sharpie and erased all your pencil lines so it's nice and clean, now we want to talk about complementary colors. One characteristic of the pop art movement is bold, bright colors. So we want to create a nice, bold contrast when making decisions to add color to our Keith Haring U. So Complementary colors create the boldest contrast to each other. They are nothing alike. If you think about red and orange, they're similar, so therefore they do not create a contrast. But if you think about red and green, they are nothing alike, and therefore they are complementary. Red and green are located opposite each other, the color wheel, as are blue and orange, and yellow and purple. Those are the complementary color sets. You can find complementary colors, again, located opposite each other on the color wheel. That will be a question on your Unit 1 test, so remember that. Okay, now you're going to start planning out your colors. We are coloring everything in each section one solid color. So you're not putting patterns or crazy designs in the background. You're not coloring each letter of your name a different color. Your Keith Haring skin U is going to be a color. Your clothes is going to be a color. The shape around you is going to be one color. The ground is going to be one color, and then your name is all one color. So we're keeping it simple with our colors, but we want to remember to create bold contrast. So I have chosen my skin to be green, so therefore my clothes will be red. So we're putting bold contrasting colors next to each other when planning out our color scheme for our artwork. So I've selected green for my skin, so my dress is going to be red. Now, yellow is not necessarily complementary to red or green, but I knew that since my dress was red, I didn't want that background shape to be orange. That's too similar, so I chose yellow. And then yellow complements purple. Again, be sure to check the color wheel or the complementary color worksheet to find what complementary colors are. So yellow complements purple, so then my background outside of my shape will be purple. And then I've selected orange for my name and then red again at the bottom. If you have additional details, like you're wearing your jersey or uniform and you want to do like black numbers in your red jersey, that is totally acceptable. You'll see that at the end when I color my paint palette, I do brown and I fill in the paint colors accurately. So we're really just talking about the large sections of color on this artwork needing to try to be contrasting or complementary so that we create a nice, bold, bright, pop art style Keith Haring artwork. As you begin coloring, make sure you're coloring in one smooth direction. Markers can be tricky and they can look sloppy if you are going in 10 different directions. So notice that I select a direction and I try to have all of my marker strokes going in that same smooth direction. Because you are trying to be consistent and coloring in one same smooth direction, you may want to get a placemat or a scrap piece of paper to put under your paper so you can just run that marker right off the edge of your paper, continuing to have your marker strokes going in one smooth direction. Also remember, your completed project should have no white spaces left. So you are filling it in nice and solid and clean. As always, craftsmanship and neatness is part of your overall grade, so take your time, do your best work, make it super duper clean and neat. The very last step to this project is to take a Sharpie marker and clean up any edges where you may have colored over the line. So if I got a little bit of purple into my orange on the Dundon, then I'm going to go back over that with my black Sharpie and just clean up the edges so it doesn't look like I went outside the lines. Little tricks of the trade to make it look super duper neat and clean and crisp. I hope you enjoyed this project and learning about Keith Haring. In the pop art movement, composition, focal point and balance, and complementary colors. Be sure to review the Google slide located under Lesson 1 in Google Classroom to see the grading criteria so you know exactly what I'm looking for when grading this project. Also in the Google slide is additional information on the key terms and Keith Haring and the pop art movement. So don't forget to check it out.